Финальная лекция проекта «Импросхема». Вот уже эта лаборатория подходит к концу, и мы завершаем образовательный курс, который был построен для композиторов и инженеров. И сегодня у нас встреча с Алессандро Перини, композитором, который специализируется, если можно так сказать, на изобретении собственных девайсов, устройств и новых музыкальных инструментов. И наша встреча пройдет на английском языке. Если вы захотите задать вопрос, я могу помочь вам с переводом. Вначале мы послушаем пьесу Алессандро Перини. Это будет пьеса для рояля и моторов, которая называется «Epicentro», и она уже исполнялась на фестивале «Биомеханика». А затем мы поговорим с автором о том, как она устроена, как она работает и как ему пришла идея вообще создания такого произведения. И в конце ждет всех сессия с вопросами. Я вас всех призываю чувствовать себя свободно и обязательно задавать вопросы Алессандро, и он с радостью на них ответит. А сейчас я приглашаю на сцену пианистку CEAM Artists Феодосию Миронову, и вместе с инженерами ЦЭАМ она исполнит пьесу «Epicentro». Пожалуйста. Good evening, Alessandro.
Hello.
And good evening, everyone. So now we will have a conversation with Alessandro Perini. And I think in a few minutes later, we have opportunity to talk with our engineers who made this construction for the piano, and our sound engineer Илья and Vasily, who are talking to our audience and talking about this construction and this piece. So it will be in a few minutes later. And now I think we can start. And I would like to start with the question. What was your starting point in creating this piece? What does it mean, Epicentro?
Epicentro is actually terminology from geology. So it's the inner point in Earth, in the soil where the earthquake is most powerful and kind of propagates. And if you have seen in this performance, the pianist was equipped with two contact microphones on the index finger. So she was kind of picking up vibrations that were excited on the piano by motors. So basically the idea is that she has a kind of device to pick up this vibration and let the audience hear them as if it was the fingers listening to this vibration. So the fingers become sort of a device to pick up this vibration, like a seismograph that picks up the movement of the earth and detects earthquakes, for example. So this was the main idea.
Mm-hmm. And do you work by yourself, or your work is connected with engineers? How do you make these constructions, like in Epicentro?
I learned little by little to use Arduino. Maybe I can show you some stuff. So I can show you the story of this piece, which comes from maybe actually it comes from this glove. This was 11 years ago. It was a hackathon in Malmö. A hackathon is a sort of competition, let's say, where you are divided in teams, so you don't know which teammate you will get, and you have to invent a device over a limited period of time. In that case, was 24 hours. So with my team, I had this idea of having a device on a glove that will detect the distance of an object in front of your hand, and then it will become more and more strong, the vibration on your hand as you were approaching the object. So it will just tell you with vibration how distant your hand was from the object. So that could be used for visually impaired people, blind people. And then after a while, I received a grant to work on vibration in general, vibration with sound. So I did different installations. For example, this one, which is it's a chair with 8 different points of vibration that will make your body vibrate in different parts, and would create kind of musical patterns, but without too much sound. Actually, the focus was on the spatialization of vibration, so how to use the space of your body as a musical element to convey vibration on your body. And I did maybe 4 or 5 works in this area of vibration and sound. And then this was the last device that I did in that frame of research, which is basically kind of a glove, a prototype, with vibrating fingertips. So you could have kind of percussion patterns made by vibration on your fingertips. So you could have like a sort of percussion music for your fingers. And it was also imagined as a music device for people who cannot hear. So making kind of percussion music for only for the tactile sensation and not for the ears. And also, I imagine it could be used also for long distance communication, imagining that there could be an alphabet made of patterns. So one person could be pushing their finger on some piezo sensors, and then the other person on the other side of the globe would receive these impulses as an alphabet, as a way to communicate between two people that are, for example, deaf and blind at the same time. So usually deaf and blind people can communicate with some special movements on the hands, so they communicate with tactile sensation. And this was actually the beginning of the idea of using Epicentro, because I could imagine connecting these vibration motors to the strings of the piano. And that's what's happening in Epicentro. There are 10 little motors that make the strings of the piano vibrate, and then the pianist is operating on the strings, but also on the pedal to make the resonance longer or shorter. And also, I will show you also this nice picture of mine with this idea of having contact microphones on the fingertips, so that you could just amplify in a very special way the sound of the piano and the vibrations happening in objects. So it's a kind of a way to explore an object that is vibrating and let this sound emerge in a different way. Because when you have a contact microphone on an object is like having your ear inside that object. It's like when you, for example, if you put your ears on a table very, very closely, you will hear something that is happening very, very far on the table, and you will hear it in a very different way compared to our normal hearing that use air as a transmitter of sound. So, and the same happens, for example, underwater, you hear in a very different way. So that was an idea for me to provide the audience with a very different way of listening.
And if we are talking about Epicentro, is there some electronics, or is just amplified sounds of piano and motors?
Everything you hear is amplification, so there is no tape, there is no live electronics, there is a bit of EQing on the microphones, of course, because they have a very low rumble, and that's it. So, but amplification is, there is, let's say, a standard XY, or in this case, kind of AB miking on the piano, a closed miking on the piano with normal microphones, condenser microphones, I think cardioid usually, that convey a sort of like general sound. They bring the general sound of the piano out to the speakers, but then there is the two microphones that give a sort of very, very foreground picture of the sound. So it's kind of two levels of sound. You can really hear when the performer is touching some vibrating surface, and the sound really comes up in terms of presence towards you. So it's a work on space as well. And if you if the people who were connected online were listening on headphones like me, you could hear very, very clearly, and also probably in the room you could hear very clearly the difference between the left and the right hand. So there is a very strong stereophonic image that is brought by the two microphones. So the right hand and the left hand are connected to two microphones, and the two microphones are connected to two speakers, almost with a very, very extreme panning. So a very, very open image.
And in this piece, you don't use keyboards, yes? Is it right?
I don't use keyboards. I don't think I use keyboards. Yes. So it's actually this piece was played by a percussionist. So I imagine that percussionists do not know where the notes are on the keyboard. It's a joke, but I tried to integrate some keyboard sounds, but at the end the sound was too far from what was happening inside with the motor. So at the end I decided not to use it, but I tried to integrate it, but at the end I had to dismiss it.
And did you make this construction with motors by yourself?
Yeah, so little by little in these past 10 years, let's say I had to learn what I needed in terms of what I needed to do in the different works where I used electronics. I mean, like and circuits. So, for example, my first works where I used Arduino alone were in 2017, which is only 8 years ago. Is not too far ago, but not too long ago. But I learned at the beginning. I only learned how to use solenoids and motors, and then little by little I got a bit more advanced. I was very afraid in this piece, in this material for Epicentro, because it was very, very delicate, and I was very surprised that your engineers could do it for last edition of Biomechanics, or two editions ago, I don't remember, but I remember, I think it was 2 editions ago, where they built the system in 2 weeks, and it was very, very stable, and I think they did it much better. So I'm very happy, because I always okay, only me can provide the materials for this performance, but at the end I was very surprised and very, very happy that they made it, and it sound quite legit. So I'm really happy that they also made some improvement, I think, because they used a different Arduino that can accept MIDI messages, so they skipped one passage on the software, so they could just directly control the Arduino Micro, I think, with MIDI. So probably they're much better than me. So I only learn what I need to do, but there is people, of course, that can do it better than me.
And thank you for your piece, because we like this kind of works that we need to build something or construct. And I think it's probably the time to talk about the construction, because I know that it's not so universal. You need to customize it for every piano that you use, because we played it 2 years ago, and there was grand piano, and it was different instrument, and we needed to check the motors to every string that we use, and now we have a lot of time for rehearsals, because we customize it for this piano. Yes, and can I invite Vasily to our talking, and I think it will be in Russian, and I will translate some points of his talking. So, Василий, они могут рассказать об этой конструкции, может быть, как она устроена и что это за моторы такие?
Добрый вечер.
Добрый вечер.
Так, а где у нас камера? Hello.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for your work.
Да, как эта конструкция, из чего она состоит, и вот, может быть, что это за моторы? So my question is about what kind of motors it is, and how does it build?
Использованы были традиционно уже моторы вибромоторы от телефонов, которые работают у нас в мобильниках для сигнализации звонков. Эти моторы используются очень часто, и вот у Алессандро как раз их много, и они вибрируют по струнам в рояле. По большому счету мы просто повторили его конструкцию. Ребят,
So we can show
мы повторили его конструкцию, которая удерживает эти моторы. Вот их можно увидеть. Так, как раз вот они закреплены на... Сейчас. Закреплены на деревянной раме, которую, опять же, традиционно мы взяли материалы из обычного строительного магазина. И для того, чтобы моторы позиционировать, были использованы ёршики для чистки курительных трубок. Это не наше решение, мы просто это повторили.
So we repeated some decisions of you, and it was motors from mobile phones that usually you can find in mobile phones. And so they used construction made by just wood and not something special. It's ordinary materials.
Эта конструкция была изготовлена для определенной модели рояля, и, собственно, на нем она первый раз отыграла, и все было хорошо. Но мы столкнулись с тем, что у всех роялей рама, на которой держатся струны, разные. То есть разные расстояния между струнами. И поскольку моторы должны быть спозиционированы на определенных нотах, ну, в общем, пришлось поработать над этим для того, чтобы адаптировать оригинальную конструкцию под разные рояли. Вот. Ну и, в общем, наверное, дальше пусть кто-нибудь про электронику расскажет.
Yes, thank you so much. It was replic about the constructions that we adopted it for another instrument. And so I would like to invite Ilya for our conversation. It's our sound engineer that works with musicians. And maybe he can talk about the electronic, not electronic part, but the computer work with this sound material, and with work with microphones and something very special.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming to our meeting, Alessandro.
Ciao, thank you.
Yeah, so I was mostly just operating all the computer stuff made in this piece. So mostly I was operating max patch that controls the motor, and most work was done by Oleg Makarov. I mean the Arduino part and all the connections to the motors, but all the setting with the player was made by me and Feodossia. So we spent a lot of time on calibrating all the motors, and also what we made with the patch, we, Oleg made some scaling for every single motor, because these motors are totally different. I mean, it's very hard to find two absolute same motors, because they are very small, and so the details could have a little less or a little more weight, and so in the same box you can find three different motors. One of them would be very strong, another one would be very weak, and so that's kind of normal. So to make some issue, to make some solution, we just made some scaling for every single motor to calibrate them to make them sound kind of similar. Yeah, so, and the patch works like we have MIDI loop inside the computer that sends notes from the author's MIDI track. It comes to the Max, and Max controlling the motors. So mostly that's all.
Mm-hmm. And what is your work during the piece, during the performance? Do you control something, or what are you doing?
During the performance, I just watch mostly and pray that everything will work fine. But most work is making before the performance. So also it was kind of hard to find the good way to place the contact microphones on the fingers. So we tried different stuff like Patafix or some kinds of tape, but finally we found something like it's two-side jelly tape, something like that, and it worked really well because every time you just pick it there and it really works, nothing goes wrong. Yeah, like
Good
that.
to know. Huh?
Yeah. You
You.
should try it one time. What else? After we made all preparations with the fingers and microphones, we starting to calibrate motors. Firstly, their placement on the strings, because after, if we try to move the piano somewhere or something else, it always becoming a mess. So all motors moves, and it's kind of hard. Even this type of the construction, I mean these tiny fluffy strings that make the motor's placement. We have kind of much more hard strings, so it's becoming kind of hard to replace some motor to another string or something else. So it's kind of heavier, kind of stronger, but we find out that it not making sense actually. It's not getting really stronger. It's still weak placement, something like that. So firstly, we find where every motor should be, place it on the right place, maybe some little right, little left, something like that. Then we start to vibrate with every motor on the right string, try it with the microphone, and so all this takes something like half an hour or something like that before every rehearsal. So
yes, and
it's
you
just
changed
rehearsal.
some motors because they were
yeah,
so hard.
This
or
time
so
we
soft.
have to change 3 or 4 motors before the performance during the rehearsals, because what happening sometime is that one motor could work fine during all the performance, but at the end it becoming so hot that it's starting to disconnecting and not working on last 2 notes. At the bar, it's 10th motor, at the bar 633 and 651. And we really got issues with that during 2 rehearsals, and after we changed 4 different motors, only the 4th one worked well. So it's also kind of weird stuff.
You need to have much more motors that you need in this.
Probably.
to try it. So Alessandro, do you have any questions?
I just want to say thank you, because I know that it's a lot of work, so I'm really impressed, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you too for the beautiful piece.
Thank you.
So thank you, and maybe we have some questions from our audience, so please feel free to ask questions. Yes, but we need to give the mic. Okay. Yes. So the question from our audience is about scores. What was the beginning of this work? How did it started with the pitch, or how did you choose pitches?
Yes, I worked on harmony on this piece because obviously the motors are on strings that vibrate and they make a pitch. So, I mean, even if I use noise, I have to take into account how this noise sound, and I use pitch. So even more with this kind of piece where you have vibrating strings, I had to choose, let's say, the kind of mother chord. So it is the first chord that you hear at the beginning, is this big, where all the motors are playing, and that's 10 or 12, I don't remember, because some motors, they take 2 notes at the same time. So it's 10, 12, 13 notes, I don't remember anymore, sound. And then from that, I kind of made, I think, 7 different sections, and each section has a part of this chord as a bass chord. And the interventions of the pianist on the strings, they kind of expand this chord. And yeah, mostly that's it. If you want, I can also show a bit the score, but in the score there is no hint of the, let's see if I can share it. There is no hint of the harmony because the actions are written of the right and the left hand, but not the pitches. So sometimes the pitch is written as, for example, B1. It means like it's this note, of course. So this means to pluck the string, and then you touch the string with your index finger, so you will pick up these vibrations in time. So there is no idea of the original harmony plan in the score, but it was a big part of my idea to take care of the harmony, because of course I didn't want chords that I didn't like. But of course you mentioned before the problem of adapting the system to different pianos, and of course this is the problem with any kind of preparation in the piano, that sometimes you will find a piano that has a different construction inside. So I remember when they asked me from Biomechanics, Oleg asked me like, okay, what should we do, or Feodosia maybe, and we cannot reach those notes, and they say, okay, we can transpose them by a particular interval. So let's say the harmony, the tensions of the intervals, the tensions of the chords one after the other could stay the same, to avoid kind of, for example, relaxation of the harmony and the resolution. That's what usually I try to take care of. So the idea of tension in the harmony was preserved, hopefully. And also I heard it tonight, it was different from what I know, but it was harmonically, I think it was working. So I guess they followed my instruction from before.
Thank you. Maybe one more question.
And also, I think we have to notice that for this piece, Alessandra made a video score. So that's why the computer is standing here, because during all the performance, performer looking at the video score which goes just through all the lines. Yeah, so it's also big work. Thank you very much for that.
No, but that's necessary, because to avoid a click track, then it's much easier to follow, and everything stays synced. There is the video score, and there is the finger actions, and that's it. So that was
totally
necessary.
Maybe one more question. This works. Just a second.
Подождите, пожалуйста, сейчас вам принесут микрофон. Вот у нас трансляция.
Yeah, thank you. My question is, it seems like you have a really long research, ongoing research with this kind of sensors and microphones, contact mics and other stuff, but I'm wondering in your other pieces, if it's like a brand new device or a brand new idea, how do you approach it? So if I'm wondering whether it's the instrument idea comes first, or maybe the character of the sound, and maybe can you talk, using an example of something you're working on right now? Thank you.
Yes, the idea for this piece came as I explained it before. So it's just working with different devices, and then you have an idea like, but I could use this not to just do this, but also for a performance. So in the past I worked a lot with installations. Now I'm doing a bit less sound installations. But in the past, there was a lot of transpiration between the, let's say, sound art and music practices. And right now, I'm more into music, let's say, so it depends very much. And I don't always use very special devices, but I try to find alternative ways to make people listen to stuff. So that's what I try. And in some other pieces, it's different ways to perform and to produce sounds. Or also, let's say, a clash between what you see on stage and what you hear. So maybe you have seen in Biomechanics, my other piece, with speakers in the mouth. So there are very, very small speakers that are in the mouth of the two performers, and they don't have to sing. The piece is called 3 Studies for 2 Voices, but there is no voice in this piece. These singers that are opening, closing the mouth, and the speakers are producing electronic sound. So it's quite a high human being on stage that has a kind of electronic voice, because it's white noise, it's beeping sounds from the mouth. So in this way, you create an expectation from the audience, like, okay, there is a piece for 2 voices, 2 singers on stage, they open their mouth, but the sound that comes out, it's not anymore a human voice. So this kind of sound, for example, is not interesting if you listen to it on a CD, because there is no visual aspects in it. I mean, it's just sine waves and white noise. But if you see that it's coming from the mouth of a performance, that's a different thing. That's a way to create something new, I think, with a very simple materials, and that's a very hard thing to do, because I mean, it's very hard to do something new with very simple material, but it's very rewarding in some way, because you create a sort of clash of the senses. So it's this kind of stuff. And right now I'm working on a piece without electronics, without any device, only 2 clarinets, but they are connected together in a certain way. So the playing from one, it's a kind of collaborative instrument made with 2 clarinets. So I 3D printed some material to connect them in some special way, so that the playing of one performers will influence also the playing of the other performers. And yeah, that's it. I don't know, lately sometimes I like to think about how can I make an instrument where more people can play in a collaborative way. And that's even without wanting it or meaning it, one performer influences the playing of the other person.
And maybe how can you explain the difference between sound art and music as a composer? Do you have different goals?
Yes, it's a very nice question, because I've been thinking about it for many years, and once I was seeing these 2 practices very separated, and at some point I And I understood also with some teachers, let's say, that they told me like, why do you write on this piece as if it was electronic music, and then from now on it sounds like Berio? And so I was like, yeah, maybe that's a good point. And when I do sound art, I mean, sound art is an exhibition of sound, so you don't need to have the same grammar as you have in music. You are exhibiting something for your ears, for the ears of somebody else. You are making somebody listen to a sound, and sound is not necessarily music, in my opinion, because it can be not organized as music. But music has a lot of references also from the past, and in music you can have a form that in sound art you can sometimes leave behind. But sound art has another feature, which is you can, for example, enter and leave at will, and maybe the sound is working, is sounding forever, and you can just enter and leave when you want. And when you are at a concert, you sit down and there is somebody who enters, you have expectations. The performer will play, and at some point he will stop or she will stop. And then the piece is over and you have to clap if you want, otherwise you can boo or you can whistle or do something like that. But there is a kind of temporality in music which is very different from the one of which is totally not linear. And of course, a lot of people, even in the 70s or maybe even before, they tried to work with temporality. Even Eric Satie tried to work with the temporality in music that was much more near to sound art than to music. So if you want, I could say that probably the first sound artist that I know is Eric Satie, but maybe I didn't study enough, maybe there was somebody before. But yes, so that's it. The main difference, I think, are those ones.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Great. And do we have any questions? Yes. Yeah.
Just to clarify for myself, first of all, thank you for a great piece.
Thank you.
And do you consider at time limited sound art as sound art? Is there such like 10-minute sound art that is performed on stage? Is it still sound art?
I call it sound art performance.
Okay.
For me, is that art that doesn't have only visual aspects, let's say, but has sound as a central. So if you imagine an exhibition with a painting and an exhibition with sound, is the same thing for me. Then when we speak about sound art performance, I would call it like that. I'm trying to label things, but it's very hard because there is a lot of I mean, sound art is here and music is here, and this territory where the two blend is so big, so vast that it's even difficult to label things. So I think it's also just a matter of labels. And of course there could be a performance of sound art that is very structured and there's a very clear form and a very clear processing of the sound, and maybe the sound is just sound and doesn't have a story, and that's it. But maybe there is also performance with one only sound that reminds you of a lot of other things and has a incredible story that you kind of grasp about it, and maybe that's sound art. So it depends very much on the context, and sometimes it's very hard to define if it's in territory in the other. Maybe it's exactly in the middle, so people could fight about how to call it.
Thank you.
Welcome. Пожалуйста.
One more question, please. Yes. Сейчас Светлана подойдет.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry for my English. It's a wonderful piece. Thank you very much. I remember my childhood because my parents was geologists, my mother and father, and spent a lot of time for field with a lot of student and workers. So searching, I didn't understand. It was like Epicentro. Epicentro, it's for me, it was magic. There listens vibration of earth. It's very interesting. It's music. It's like vibration. It's trivial fact. It's also it's your piece. It's like approaching for vibration. For me, it's very interesting. I'm pianist. It's all the time I listen to vibration. And my question about the shape, what's the idea of shape your piece? Shape.
Shape, you mean
shape,
the form?
Shape, yes, yeah, form, music form.
Yeah, as I said before, everything starts with a big chord, which is a kind of the start of, and the rest of the piece is a big release. Let's say, so it's really the idea of vibration, starting with all the motors working on one chord only, and then everything is a kind of release with some parts in the middle that are kind of getting back to the first percussion, but made by the piece of wood. But in general, I think I used actually, if you want to go more technical, I don't remember that much, but I'm sure I used a kind of series of 7 numbers, which is also the length of each section. So one section is maybe I used the first 7 prime numbers, I don't remember, but maybe one section is 7, the other is 5, and one other is 3, I don't remember exactly, to just have a kind of proportion. Then there was, of course, a lot of improvisation with the material, just to understand which kind of sounds I wanted, and then I tried to give it a shape that was, I think, this piece is one of the least organized, pre-organized pieces from my side. Others are much more clear regarding form. So this one is not only an improvisation, but it really came out little by little by integrating different pieces and trying to see how one piece sounds after the other. So it's probably my piece where there is the most instinctual approach, let's say an improvisational approach on the material, more than the thought of something. But in general, I follow this kind of idea of release after an attack, so attack and resonance, which is a very, very basic idea, and it's a form of many, many pieces, but of course every time it comes out in a different way. But thank you for your story about geologist parents. It's very nice.
Thank you, grazie.
Yes, maybe we have some more questions. I can see more questions, but maybe I have final question about customization of pieces. There is a problem because it's often doesn't contribute to the piece being performed when you have this kind of constructions or specific instruments, and because not all of ensembles may have engineers or technical capabilities. And is it important for you that your piece performed once or twice, or is it important to you to realize the idea just itself?
In this case, the most important thing was to do this, to do the job, and I really wanted to hear it myself at least once. I knew it was very, very difficult to. I actually thought nobody would ever play it again, and also I didn't want to play it again because I didn't want to. It was a lot of stress for me to be sure that everything was working, and to, as your technician said, like to set up everything so that it was perfectly playing, and that was when we did the recording, and the recording went on a CD, and we did also a public performance, and that was what we did in Sweden. And I thought, okay, this piece now go on in the drawer, and nobody will play it again because it's too difficult. But then I was so surprised that when I sent you. When you asked me some years ago, like your organization CEAM asked me, like, okay, send us all your pieces that you have, because we want to reconstruct them during some years, and we will try to do our best. And it's like every time I put Epicentro, I comment a little bit. This is a very difficult piece to do. I don't know if you will make it, but if you can, if you want to try, you can try. But be prepared that it's very, very difficult to set it up. But let's see. And then they contact me 1 month before the concert, and it's like, maybe we will do it. I will buy the stuff. We want to ask you some stuff. Like it's very late. I mean, you're very late. It's only 1 month. But at the end, I was so surprised. So I'm just thankful that you put so much effort. And but I was very aware of the fact that it could be only played maybe once or twice. I don't ask too much for this piece. There are some other pieces of mine that are very easy to set up. So of course they are played more. For example, the piece here in the mouth, it's already maybe the 3rd or 4th time that I played it in Russia, St. Petersburg, and so that is very easy to play. And yeah, it depends. I mean, sometimes the constructions I make for instruments are more complicated, and sometimes they're more easy. So it depends. Sometimes I have to send my stuff and hope that it doesn't break during the travel, and sometimes people can reconstruct it like you. And let's see what happens. I mean, so I'm open for anything. I'm just happy if the piece doesn't have only one life, but many others.
So thank you so much, Alessandro, for coming for this conversation, and of course for your beautiful music. Yes, and Feodossia is here.
Hi.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for this amazing piece. For me as a pianist, it was. I found that for me as a pianist, it is very important and interesting experience to have an opportunity to explore my own instrument, to discover new sounds, to discover new opportunities, to sounds it can produce, and it's just amazing because I liked to work with. I like to work with this piece, and I like to explore my instrument. I like to I can produce some sounds I've never imagined my instrument can produce. So I'm just very grateful for you, for your work and for your experiments and for all your art. And thank you.
Thank you for playing it. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, and we will be very happy to perform more your pieces. And thank you for your music. And so we need to stop our conversation.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Till next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.
Спасибо всем. Мы вас ждем 23 мая на заключительном концерте участников лаборатории. Так заканчивается наша образовательная программа, но вместе с тем начинается фестивальная. И 23, 25 и 30 мая у нас будут различные импросеты с инструментами сома, с какими-то авторскими конструкциями, инструментами и девайсами. Так что следите за нашим расписанием, за публикацией в соцсетях, и мы ждем вас снова. Спасибо.